All right, guys, a very pleasant good day. My name is Dr. Simon Atkins. Please call me Simon. We're now on our third webinar, our top 10 predictions globally. If you've missed our recent webinars, Mark Hendershott from Steele Shott Group or myself can supply those for you. We want you to be in the know. It's already June 1st, 2021. And I'm going to get straight into it.
Hey, Simon, quick thing. All the old webinars are on my YouTube channel. There's only 2 of them, obviously, but they're on my YouTube channel. So if someone wants them, they can get on Mark Hendershott. There's 13 videos on there, and there's 189. I have 2 YouTube channels. One of them has 189 subscribers. One of them's 2. The 189 is where the webinars are at. So if you just type my name into YouTube, you'll find them.
Beautiful. All right, well, let's get into this, guys. Basically, what these webinars are all about is connecting risks and thinking not out of the box, but thinking no box. The world is rapidly changing, as you know, and we basically connect things in agriculture and energy in the future. We're going to talk about economic shifts with money, digital currency, geopolitical situations, black swans, stock investment recommendations, and seriously, just on the theme of opportunities to make and save money. Also, how can new technology help us, and how is it changing our world? So everything from high tech to financial banking structures to society changes to being prepared, all about preparedness, your health, cryptocurrency, even transhumanism, which is literally shaping the new kind of shape for humanity. All right, so I want to read out something to you first because I want us all to be on the same page as we normally start these seminars. So in the COVID-19 new era, we've entered somewhere very different. Things are not the same anymore. Different events last year and this year have provided literally awe and shock. And sometimes we come into the meetings or come into our offices wondering what the hell is going to happen today. So basically, black swans are now happening with higher probabilities, and their threat level is increasingly multifaceted, meaning it's coming in from many different angles, and we have to connect many different points of view. We're seeing multiple paradigm shifts happen in different segments of the global economy, and even different countries are doing different things. So humanity's shifting. There's always going to be new challenges, but we've got to acclimate and become more profitable. And that's what this is all about. It's a special team, us, you, me, and basically taking an intelligent approach to continually adapt, not to come into the office to be in fear, not to panic, but just to know more about what's going on. And we call that here divergent thinking. So that's going to be the key in risk management this year, 2022 and beyond. So let's prepare now. We're ready for you on your green light. Let's go. All right, so last month we talked about these top 10 subjects. And again, you can get this from Mark or you can get this from myself. We'd be more than happy to provide you with this information. The idea is that each month we're going to do top 10 recommendations. Think about that by the end of the year. If you have a folder of 120 ideas, themes, ways to basically make yourself in a better position in the world, instead of being in fear, instead of panicking, oh my God, what do I have to do next? I want to go over these top 10 because they are important. Number 10 was, we went over the top 10 safest countries in the world. We talked about a second passport. And I think you ought to see this because the top 10 countries probably will be a big surprise to you. Number 9, we talked about China's up and coming social score and developing it into the cosmopolitan score. If you don't know anything about the cosmopolitan score, you need to know it because these big apps are already being developed in Silicon Valley in the US. Number 8 was all about the cyber attacks on banks and literally our lives. Can a cyber attack affect you? Yes, you're darn right it could. We also talked about frequency wave attacks and microwave attacks. You may have heard about diplomats having the Havana effect on them. This is where you get a microwave blast into a building and it affects all the employees and it's a weapon. So what can we do about that? And also we talked about a new technology called the agricultural shield. You can put this in your field and it will literally harmonize the frequencies in your field. And they've scientifically shown a 23% increase in yield rates. Unbelievable. See, guys, when you're in the know, you literally take a different viewpoint in life and you make good decisions. Number 7 was all about weather warfare. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. And as an atmospheric scientist for 30 years, I can look you in the eye. I don't have a big boss to report to about being scared about admitting, yeah, there's real weaponry out there. And I wanted you to know in that seminar, and now also, there's something called carbon trace. And it sounds pretty benign, but it's actually an advanced AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning project backed by Google. And it's starting to roll out this summer. And it really has a dark side. Then we talked about number 6. It was the onset of neurological and health problems from COVID. And we talked about prions. Do you remember what prions were? Those were the things in the mad cow disease. And now they've noticed it in the vaccines. Yeah, bet you didn't know that. So scientific studies are coming out. We're going to talk about that today because we want you to know. Number 5 was all about substantial changes in Brazil. We actually predicted that Bolsonaro will be out in 6 to 8 months. I don't know if you've already seen the news, but there's huge like riots and just different rallies going on about pushing Bolsonaro out and having Lula come back in. Number 4 was about the bank holiday and digital rollout phase 1. Look, you can choose a number of options. You can just wait until it gets here, or you can actually take a deep breath and say, all right, I'm going to learn about this because it's going to be coming. Digital money is going to be our future. And there's a lot of organizations that are supporting this, including Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, and so forth. We'll talk about that. Number 3, we got right into Ripple, R-I-P-P-L-E, and it was connecting all the different types of digital platforms with cryptocurrency, and it's basically the new SWIFT transaction, all about real-time global payments and so forth. And the Chinese just love Ripple. So if the Chinese love it, you know what the rule is? You better start to love it too. Number 2, talking of China, and we talk a lot about China because they're making key decisions in the world for many of us, whether we like it or not. China's infrastructure boom. We talked about that. Number 2, with all of the iron ore. And if you check this morning, iron ore is up 5.5% for the week and 27% year to date. So iron ore is just becoming in just huge demand. Number 1 was all about the massive commodity rise, buying up things all in value. So if anything grabbed your attention there, and I'm sure it does in some form or format, be sure to ask us about that previous webinar. All right, guys, let's start now. The top 10 ranked countdown threats and opportunities, investment tips and recommendations. It's June 1st, 2021. I have to give you a quick warning before we begin. Does this look like you in front of your TV on a Friday night? Just freaking exhausted and just looking at your TV screen? There's a lot of programming, all right? You may have heard about the joke, television. That's what television is. We got to critically think, guys. And I've been doing this for many, many years, analyzing what we're watching. Never blindly believing what you're told. And that includes right now. If you don't understand something that I say, please ask. Let's save the questions to the end. And let's just go forward in a positive way. As I say, there's always a ton of information on each slide. So if you're like, Simon, whoa, how the hell am I going to read this and listen to you at the same time? I would suggest listening for a little bit, and then we will get this PDF to you ASAP, and you can go through this. Let's both read, though, the main subject heading, which is the prediction, and then the subtitle, which is basically what it's all about. So number 10, and again, we choose these themes very carefully. We back it up through technology, through science, medicine, or other journalistic integrity. I'm not just throwing out, oh, there's going to be blood clots from vaccines. All right. The Lancet, one of the world's oldest and best known medical journals, has just come out a couple of days ago talking about the lack of safety and efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines. There's a number of big surprises, and a lot of people are getting blood clots from the nanoparticulates into their cell nucleuses. This is a big problem. And there's a number of whistleblowers that are coming out from even Pfizer saying that the information that should have been released wasn't. There's a number of medical journals like Lancet. Many MDs are now coming forth over social media urging extreme caution in taking the COVID vaccines. There's a number of vaccine high ratio to population countries like Chile and Israel and even the US now, where there is now over 1 million vaccine injured people around the planet. And even Dr. Fauci and the CDC recently, if you've been listening to the news, are changing their opinions. There's a great skit out there on Instagram that shows Dr. Fauci and 16 other Dr. Faucis basically conflicting everything they've said in the last 18 months. It's pretty funny, but it's unfortunately not that hilarious because it's actually true. These spotlight officials are reversing their opinions a lot. And let's be honest, we have to really go back into history and learn from the past. There's, as you know, something called the Nuremberg Code and other pre-established historical lessons that basically says that we shouldn't ever be able to mandate something that's potentially harmful into our bodies. And so when the countries or societies or different industries, like the airline industry, is saying that something's mandated, it actually goes against the Nuremberg Code. So we reckon that all of these vaccine passports will be going through multiple lawsuits, and it's probable that there will be different zones in the world. There'll be disaster, neutral, and abundant zones. Abundant zones means that the COVID rate was not really high enough originally or at any particular time, and vaccine passports won't be necessary. And then there's going to be disaster zones where vaccine passports will be needed. And so the world's going to get split up into different groups. That's our prediction, that some industries will want it and some people won't want it. And it's really going to confuse basically where we can go. And this may go on for a couple of years until some kind of new system is up and being. Remember what I've always said, check out the investment opportunities and the must-see videos and links. This is, we choose the best research we can, and there's literally hundreds of person hours in this presentation, all for your benefit. And I want to read this out to you, the investment opportunity in number 10. We've repetitively said that your physical, mental, and overall energetic health and well-being is perhaps the single most important investment. Question everything. This is the first step in connecting the dots to invest. So without good health, what the hell can we do? Nothing. So always urge, I always urge you to look at things very, very carefully, including what is going on here. All right, guys, let's go to number 9. We talked about weather warfare last month. I want to go into this with a documentary that is, again, very, very scientific. Have you ever looked up and seen these big kind of columns of spray? Now, a lot of people will tell you that those are just the old-fashioned water vapor molecules, but they're not. This is very, very different. And again, as an atmospheric scientist, I can come to you and say to you that there is a global agenda going on, and we're connecting the dots. And also many other scientists are connecting the dots. It's called geoengineering, and the governments have actually admitted to this now. But a lot of corporations are jumping aboard to block the sunlight from us. Now you may say, what? Why are they blocking the sunlight from us? Well, basically, we went over 2 months ago how Bill Gates is starting in a literally number of days, June 6th. He's going to start spraying chalk, pulverized chalk, CHALK, into the atmosphere just north of Phoenix. and watching what it does in the atmosphere downstream and seeing if it cools off the temperatures. The globalists basically want to cool off the planet. They think it's warming up too much. But unfortunately, scientific data shows that rural locations and some suburban areas outside of where the thermometers are in urban and downtown and runway locations is actually cooling. That is, the countryside is cooling in the plains and the Midwest in the last 30 years. And that data is squashed and not looked at very, very carefully. But what's happening, guys, is there's a company called Raytheon. You've probably heard about it, and it's one of our investment opportunities that is basically adding chemicals to some fuel lines, all right, with the global weather modification programs, just like Bill Gates has come out, and it's working with Harvard University and a number of other corporations in pulverizing chalk and throwing it up in the atmosphere, all right? And these are called global warming mitigation programs or global dimming projects. Also, they're called solar radiation programs. And guess what they put into the air? Propane, nitrogen, and silver iodide, potassium chlorate, barium oxide, and a lot of other poisons. And basically, microbiologists have taken the soil beneath these areas that are being dimmed. I think a lot of you will readily understand that we used to have these very, very blue skies, and now they're being dimmed out on many days. And so the question becomes, as we awaken as a team, what is going on? Well, Raytheon created a company called GDR, General Dynamics Robotics, and they basically want to evolve and manufacture advanced UAVs, unmanned autonomous vehicles, because they're going to be used for future war and defenses, especially in the Middle East and other countries. They don't want to send soldiers, human bodies, into combat anymore. They want to send these UAVs, and they're going to militarize and basically put bombs and lasers and everything like that. But guess what? They can sometimes have a payload of 20,000 pounds. And they want them to be able to be flying continuously like robots for more than 72 hours. So guess what? Guess what all the connection is? And this document, don't take just my word for it. This documentary is a Good Friday or Saturday night movie for just under 2 hours. And it goes into everything of why they're doing this. And I'll tell you right now in one line, you know what they're doing? They're electrifying the air. Let that sink into you. Why would they want to electrify the air? This is all about AI microwave signal networking. It's basically advanced 5G, and now they're doing already 6G rollouts in some test areas. And it's basically causing more positive ions to come into the air so that these UAVs can last in the air longer. That's what this is all about. And these chemicals that they're using to dim the sun cause these UAVs to last longer in the air. Now, there's other, obviously, technological purposes for this, but it goes down a really dark alley. And I wanted you to be able to profit from this, either on the firms that are making this technology, and obviously going back to our health. What can we do? So that movie really goes into this, and it's a good asset of 2 hours of your time. I can very, very highly recommend it. Guys, let's go on to number 8. Sometimes we talk about the weather. If you're not getting our short-term or long-range weather, you can either send me an email or Mark, and we'd be more than happy to have you come aboard as a sort of a family member of the AFC Steele Shott team. All right, number 8 is all about polar air volume. Now, some people ask me, is the Arctic chilling down? Well, we have to look at this more carefully. It's not the volume of polar air that's increasing, but it's the amount of polar air volume coming further south. You may say, well, wait a sec, what did you say? I'm saying that if you take a sort of an amount of cold air, it's not that it's growing in the polar region. It's that a bigger portion of this bubble of cold air is dropping further south. Why? Because a lot of it is on geoengineering. We're even noticing that Saharan air is going up into Europe. We're noticing, yes, that the Arctic is warming up, but we're also noticing that the tropical regions are cooling down. And you all know what happened in Texas in February. Hadn't happened for over 100 years. And a lot of scientists, not myself, but a lot of scientists, mainly mainstream that work for different governments, have said, we're not going to get cold again. So what had happened? Texas got caught off guard because they'd been advised by the government and by different officials that we weren't going to ever see cold air into Texas. No, you couldn't possibly get below zero in Dallas, could you? Yeah, well, it did happen. And you can see the map of all of the different power outages that happened this past February. Well, we've been studying that since February. And this map on the left shows that the temperatures below 0 Fahrenheit, minus 18 Celsius, went all the way down to near Austin. So this hasn't happened for 100 years. So what's going on? Well, again, the geoengineering is causing more positive ions. And if you're familiar with my reports, we go over the magnetics at a global level, and we forecast short range and long term very accurately. We are then using those weather forecasts to predict commodities. And we've basically said last month, we will have a super commodity bull run that will take pauses. And I've been advising different clients about how it will take a pause lately, and it did. Now we're going to go back up again. But here's the key, guys. There's going to be severe winter outbreaks, 23, 25, 28, and 29, all coming in with the next solar cycle. And cold air is going to plunge far south. And you can see what we're kind of advising. 0 or colder is going to come into this blue area, just like what happened. But here's where it gets scary. There's 144 million people up and down the eastern seaboard. And if that goes below 0, can you imagine the energy demand? There's too many people and we don't have enough energy. That's the problem. So in the investment opportunity, I always ask people, what would happen if your power went out for more than 2 days? How do you prepare? Did you know that the average American home is only going to be 5 to 10 degrees warmer after 2 days than the outside ambient temperature? So if the outside ambient temperature falls to 20 Fahrenheit, say you're lucky and you're in a warm area in January, after 2 days, your home basically falls to 30 Fahrenheit, which means a bursting of the pipes. And if you've spoken to anybody in Texas, you may not want to bring it up because it's really a bad memory from a few months ago. So basically prepare for this, because as an atmospheric scientist, again, I say that too often, but this is my expertise in a way. This is going to basically be moving, the axis of polar cold is going to be moving eastward with time. So over the next few years, there's going to be multiple threats on the energy infrastructure, just like Texas. Now, it may not happen in the north because a lot more people are used to that. But in the south and in the east, where cold is not as prevalent, especially recently in the last 5 years, we think that this is a high threat. All right, let's go to number 7. This one I'm sure you heard about recently, how all of a sudden we've got a large global chip shortage. How the heck did this happen? Well, it's been a multiple sort of host of different connective spots. We've had a huge amount of government and Federal Reserve stimulus money. So the demand for new autos has suddenly increased. And so basically manufacturers like Jeep and other car companies and other tech giants have said, oh, well, we've got to boost production. So all of a sudden you had everybody sort of quote unquote go into the supermarket wanting chips. Well, guess what happens before a hurricane if you want batteries, or if you want bread, or if you want milk? There ain't enough if you don't get there before 9 o'clock in the morning, right? Same thing with the chips. So now we've got everybody fighting for chips, semiconductors. Now here's where we think the situation or the crisis could get worse. China has repetitively said that Taiwan needs to come back to the so-called motherland. And although it hasn't been in the news recently, you only have to go back 1, 2, 3 months to see that the threat of China interrupting economic or geopolitical situations or activity is increasing. And I hate to say it, whether you love him or hate him, Biden is much less of a threat for China than Trump was. And so China knows this now, and it's basically going to make probable advances on Taiwan in a negative way. So I bring up Taiwan because this is where a lot of the manufacturing of semiconductors is held. And Tesla has just said they're going to pay for chips in advance, or they'll even buy out an entire factory in the billions of dollars to overcome a shortage. So what's going to happen? The investment opportunity is simple. Invest in those companies that are buying chips in advance, because they're going to be basically having the helicopter ready to take off on the top of the building when there's a fire in the building, if you get my analogy. In other words, invest in memory producers like Western Digital. Look up the top 10 semiconductor firms, the links at the bottom. And also there's a company called ASML. Without them, the chips would be worthless, because there's actual lithography machine chip manufacturing components. That's what ASML does. So if I was investing, which I don't, because I'm not going to be biased here, our honest and thorough research is only in connecting the dots. But get ASML. It really makes probable sense in doing that. But check out what's going on in this area and what other things it could mean. You know, for example, what's going to happen to Apple? You know, and if you follow Apple, we're actually making a recommendation to short it, because it seems like China has kind of invaded the company in many more ways than it's letting up on. So check out Apple. And always remember, when everybody else is investing in a stock, it's sometimes now we're living in contrarian frequency times where it might be best to not follow the sheep. That's our best advice. Let's go to number 6, guys. China has a love affair with Africa. And if you've ever been out there, you may say, God, I don't want to go out there. There's too much war. There's too much heat. There's too many problems. This is what the television programming shows you. But I want to talk about something that you may never have heard of, Colton. Now, you may think it's a baseball or sort of a basketball group, the Coltons. I could probably pull that off onto you. The Coltons scored 6-0 last night. Yeah, okay. Now, Colton is an actual mineral. And I'm going to take a poll energetically or telepathically, and I bet you 9 out of 10 of you have never heard of Colton. Well, guess what? You start digging around a little bit, and it actually becomes really important. 70% of Colton mining is under Chinese control in the DRC. That's right here in the central green area of Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo. They produce 80% of the world's coltan. You do the math. 70% is under Chinese control. So what is it used in? Well, laboratory equipment, surgical medical technology, shuttles, rockets, plane engines, all types of electronic devices, including mobile phones. And I say sarcastically, nothing really important, right? No. So get this, China is going to become the dominant supplier of one of the key little tiny but huge minerals used in basically everything electronic, including all of the stuff that I said on slide 10, or sorry, number 9 on slide 8, with the AI microwave signal networking to electrify the air. So when we go back to number 6 here on slide 11, China is going to become literally the leader in new age and AI defense weapons. That's why they are all over Africa. And our investment opportunity advice is very simple. Copy China, but in your own world. In other words, China's outsourcing additional lines of resources, credit, minerals, food supplies, components. It's even expanding its people resources now. Did you hear about that in the news? China's now allowing 3 kids for each family. You almost have to do what? Yeah, remember the old days when China said you can only have 1 kid and it most likely had to be a boy? Yeah, those days were over. Now they could have 2. But now all of a sudden, they've said you can have 3. Now, why would the most populous country in the world all of a sudden say you can have 3 children? Do they want to dominate the world? Do they know that maybe a lot of deaths are coming? What is the big connection? Well, you have to go down the deep Alice in Wonderland tunnel to figure that out. We're going to be talking about that in future webinars. But redundancy is the key here, guys. Anything that you often use, whether it's an oil filter, we talked about that last time, or anything that you need for your business, make a list over a Saturday morning coffee and talk about this with your friends, with your spouse, with your friends, and just, your business partners, whatever. It's very important to get supplies of what you need. So for example, just anything. I have a coffee grinder. I actually have a second coffee grinder in case the first one breaks. It's like that, but multiply it out. Redundancy. Number 5. We're going to get more and more important as we get towards number 1. Number 5 is all about a relationship between something called a tether and the recent announcement by China. God, why does China keep coming up? They just made crypto illegal. So what happened? Well, Elon Musk said he didn't really want, payments through Bitcoin anymore to buy Tesla products. So that kind of was the first hit on Bitcoin, because you know how much it's crashed, right? From 59,000 or something like that to about 36 today or 35. But it was China's announcement that they have made cryptocurrencies all illegal. All right. And the market really hasn't, the Bitcoin market really hasn't recovered from that statement made about 10 days ago. Now, why would they ban crypto? If they can track it, they're the world's biggest surveillance state. So they can track it. They can make systems online that necessitate a photo ID. They can web track you, right? If you're working from home now with a big company, they have software that you have to turn on that comes with, let's say, a desktop or a laptop supplied by the company, and they take a photo shot and take a still shot of what you're doing and how many strokes you're making on the keyboard to work. And this is how future employees of a firm are going to be, let's say, quantified or surveyed on their quarterly or annual report. And let's say there's 10 employees. They may say, Simon, you took 3 times as many bathroom breaks as Mary. So we're not really happy with your work amount or your work efficiency. So we're going to promote Mary and not you. This is being done as we speak. So China and the US are having very different routes with the cryptocurrency, but it goes much further. I talked to you about this new word called the tether, and a lot of us have not heard about this. This is a type of cryptocurrency that never changes in value. It's worth $1. But guess what? Most of the cryptocurrency platforms are changing the Bitcoins for tethers, and the money flow from and to Bitcoin, for example, in the last 24 hours, was not the US dollar buying Ethereum and XRP and Bitcoin, but it was the tether. You may say, well, what is this tether? Well, the tether, again, is a type of instrument used to go against Bitcoin. But here's the problem, and I want you to see in blue this imperative link to see ASAP. This guy and this company did huge amounts of research on the globalintelhub.com, and it talks about all this potential fraud, about how all this cryptocurrency is getting bought and what it's supported by. So, for example, the US dollar used to be supported by a certain amount of gold. It was backed by the quote-unquote gold standard. And then in 1913, when the Federal Reserve was made, it went off the gold standard, and it became basically a reserve currency. There's, the trust in the government. But now we are backing Bitcoin with tethers, 1 for 1. And something is not right. And there is a connection between the suspicious activity of what Tether and Bitcoin is doing with China making cryptocurrency illegal. It's a very convoluted, very deep and crisscrossing. It's like a hairball of different connections. And what we're saying is pay attention to two different things. Ripple, which is connecting all the transactions of cryptocurrency and digital payments. This is what the banks are investing in. Follow the banks. This is what I personally am releasing information. I'm always upfront with you. So most of the cryptocurrency that we're investing in, myself, my family, is Ripple. And I'm going to be expanding it to something called carbon crypto, which is all about alliances, which I'll get into very soon. So it seems like there's like this, the original wave of cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin, is kind of dying off. And more people are going away from Bitcoin and going into the next wave of securing some type of digital currency. So again, the investment opportunity is simple. It may not be a specific commodity or transaction or specific company always. This one is all about crypto is split into different groups. See, we think crypto is crypto, which is crypto, like a rose is a rose is a rose. It's not true. Some of them hold much more risk than others, and they're segmented in different components. Like Ripple is not a Bitcoin. Ripple is the actual transaction platform that makes all the digital currencies interchangeable. And that is going to be your future. For example, Ripple is going to be the new Swift. When you make a wire transfer using the Swift amount or the Swift platform, now it's going to be called Ripple. All right. So it's vital you know about the tether. Number 4, guys, let's get into it. Chinese central bank hastens or makes it more rapid the sovereign digital yuan, more international. All right. And you may say, Simon, I will never, ever go out of the US dollar. I know what you're speaking about. You're a loyalist. You're not going to ever go into another nation's foreign currency. I get it. There's a lot of people out there like that. Like, I'm a true American. I'm not going to do that. But it does seem like China is rolling out in the next 9 to 12 months, probably in staggered stages. It's already begun. It's already having a status of legal tender. What is that? The digital yuan. For example, you can go and call up the Bank of China in New York. They have different, there's one in Los Angeles, I think maybe one in Chicago, one in New York, one in Toronto, and a couple of other places where you can open up a bank account, an American citizen, you can open up a bank account in Chinese yuan. You may say, again, I'm never going to do that. But again, you may want to consider this for some of you out there being wanting to diversify, and you may want a certain amount of your assets in yuan because they may be worth much more in the future. It's like investing in anything. But China's really pushing this. And again, there is, how would you get, let's say, digital yuan? Well, there's brokers, and it's called the yuanpaygroup.com. And there's an article all about it that basically gives you all the information on what you have to do. And this is, again, another idea, because China's literally advertising that it will have the global monetary system in digital yuan. You may say, well, I've been hearing about the dollar crash, or, the dollar's only got a number of years for years. I agree with you. I agree. But what's happening is we're getting closer and closer and closer to that actual point of potential shifting, especially now that we've seen this post-COVID period where the globalists can kind of push us around a little bit more. And the Bilderberg group, which meets in Davos, Switzerland every year, they are now talking about this. And let's be honest, there's about 700 representatives of different firms and different governments and different alliances that make the decisions for 7 billion people. That's 0.00001% of the world is making the biggest decisions of where we go economically, what happens politically, and so forth. Oh, yes, it is a very, very big Alice in Wonderland tunnel. And that's what we've been connecting with all of our dots. All right, guys, let's go into the 3 most important ones now. Bitcoin is going to go down more. This is our big prediction as people are converting their stash to other crypto. Very important. We've been monitoring a lot of blogs. We've been looking at a different number of articles. People that started Bitcoin are even converting their Bitcoin to Ripple. There seems to be, though, a big platform of why this is happening. All of a sudden, it's all about the environment. Bitcoin is bad because it takes up too much electricity. Mining is bad. So now we are going into a huge, huge global theme about the environment. And it all goes back to the Climate Paris Accord. All the leaders, except a few, are joining like gangsters in this massive climate accord to basically get people to have carbon credits. So say, for example, Mark Hendershott is out there. He wants to fly down to Uruguay. He's going to need 200,000 carbon credits because his carbon footprint is going to be giant in flying 12 hours southward. If he gets those carbon credits now, they can run an investment maybe 2, 3, 10, 25, 100 times greater. And his airline ticket in the future can be bought with those carbon credits. So it's just a massive, massive shift. And I'm going to tell you something. Don't accuse me of saying it in a harsh way. I'm just making you aware that a new crypto movement has already begun. You may say, well, wait, Simon, I'm just getting aboard learning about Bitcoin. I get it. There is so much to learn out there. But when the masses are getting in on the Bitcoin train now, you're too late. You're too late to the game. You may as well start the new game, which is wave 2, a new wave. And that's why I'm saying a new crypto movement is occurring. So check out the app. Go to crypto.com. It's easy to remember. It's an actual Hong Kong firm, but they're global business people. And it's just amazing what you can gather from that app. And a lot of people have different platforms. They have one at Coinbase. They have another at maybe eToro, Toro. There's one out in Israel. So there's many different platforms. But what I'm saying is diversification is key. Don't get caught in this old wave. Already get into the new wave, the penny cryptos, and of course the carbon ones, which is actually now number 2. Governments are already changing all of their green initiatives. So now, for example, Chrysler is saying that 40% of its cars, 40% of its cars by 2029 are going to be electric. Let's make that half in 7 or 8 years. That is massive, massive. And now, very soon, California is going to be passing a law saying that no gas guzzling cars can be sold in California. That may even start next January 2022. The thing is, guys, is our future is going to be all about buying up carbon credits, whether you like it or you hate it. And it's literally all a part of the fourth industrial revolution. This goes back to a top 10 prediction that we had last month about the World Economic Forum and its founder, Klaus Schwab, talking about advancing society to this fourth industrial revolution. Look up the WEF, World Economic Forum, and you can get his book. But it seems like the Davos group in Switzerland are following this man's advice. This man is becoming kind of a new global leader that we never even elected. But nevertheless, he is being followed very, very carefully. This page right here, guys, gives you all the different options about buying carbon coins. There's all these different links here and talking about carbon currencies and talking about universal carbon as the world's first tradable carbon token on a public blockchain. Look, I'll hand it to you very simply. I was so confused about all of these new words. It's like, wait, I'm fluent in English and I don't even understand half of what's being discussed. But the new global initiative, backed up by all of the, let's say, G20 governments at least, is all about the environment now and fighting climate change. The unfortunate truth is that the globe is not heating up as we are told, not all the time. There's just as many colder areas like we saw with the Texas power outage. And those are the themes and the risks and the scenarios that are going to catch many people off guard. But if we live in the matrix, as we do, we have to go with these global programs. And like I said, buying carbon credits is probably going to become very, very widely used in 2025. So if you invest in carbon credits now, I can't guarantee you, but I can say with high probability that in a few years' time, and we're already halfway through almost 2021. So once you get to 2022, 2023, which is only in 18 months or less, I can already say that some of your friends are going to be using their carbon credits to buy stuff, just like people are telling you, oh, I just bought my car by Bitcoin. I was amazed the other day. I heard this. One of my buddies says, oh, I just bought my new car with Bitcoin. I said, well, how much did you buy Bitcoin at? He said, $50. $50. I said, oh my God. I said, how much did you make? He says, a ton. He says, that car just cost me pennies. Okay, he got in on the right moment. And that's what this is all about. See, to get in on the right moment, you have to take a risk, but you also have to have the vision. So the vision is the governments, the alliances, all the important heads, including the Bilderberg Group, they're talking about buying the credits. All right, let's go to number one.
Simon, quick question.
Yes, Mark.
What do you think of, I know you've talked about Ripple quite a bit. What do you think of like Dogecoin with Elon Musk behind it and Snoop Dogg and Mark Cuban and those guys?
Yeah, the Dogecoin is basically one of the new crypto. Well, it's fairly new, and it's now one of the secondary waves.
6 on the list. It's worth 42 mil. 42 billion.
Yep. So the market capitalization is really increasing, and you're going to see it probably in the top 3 by the end of the year as Bitcoin comes down. So this is a very good example, Mark, of hitting this second wave. What basically people are doing is they're playing it in waves. Bitcoin went from $3 to 60,000. It's pretty much done. Now, my famous words, I may have to eat crow in 1 year. Bitcoin could be 100,000, like people are sometimes saying. But I think with all of the research that we're doing, the newer ones are coming in. Right? Even Ethereum may be half burned out. So it's all of the others, and you can go to crypto.com and others to see there is 4,987 different types of cryptocurrencies. And all we hear about is Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's the same in, I don't know, just everything, like climate. All we hear about is El Nino, La Nina. There is over 58 oscillations that I see on the map every single day. And all I hear about in the news is El Nino, La Nina. Do you see what I mean? We are being programmed. They take a theme, El Nino, Bitcoin. They steer all the masses into that. And then to the left and under the carpet, they come in and they make their money on the next one. I want you to be a part of that person or group that comes in underneath in stealth on the radar. All right, Mark, let's do the last one and then we'll wrap it up. Cyber Polygon. If you haven't heard of these two words, you're missing out. You need to know about this because it's an exercise just like the Bill Gates exercise in, when was it? November 2019. That was called exercise 19. I might be off on the name there, but it was basically all about a virus coming out and trying to get rid of it, mitigate it, and think about how to avoid it in the future. And then all of a sudden, January, February 2020, well, we all know what happened. This is another one of those exercises formed by similar people in similar groups, and it's by the World Economic Forum. And it's a page here, which you can check out at the bottom, called Cyber Polygon. It's the 9th of July. And it's basically an initiative aimed at raising the global cyber resilience and the expansion against cyber threats. How does this involve you? I want you to get protection on your computers. I want you to get protection on your bank accounts. Now you may say, well, what do I have to do? Well, there is top-rated software out there, and let's be honest with each other. You may go and see it, and it's like $79.99. You're thinking, I'm not getting that stuff for $80. Well, guess what? You might want to reconsider, because $80 is going to save you a hell of a load of, let's say, tears and headaches, and really a lot of pain if your computer gets hacked or your bank account gets hacked or whatever. So go and meet with your banker and ask him or her what you can do to increase the security of your account. If you log in online, can they put an extra level of protection? I got that on mine. Okay. There's malware bytes, BYTES. There is triple C cleaner. All of these things, if you think about it, and I'm looking at my laptop right now and I'm broadcasting from Uruguay, and look at the power of it. Imagine if I had a malware or ransomware or some kind of Trojan horse. We're familiar with those terms, but there's much bigger types of cyber attack. And this goes back to one topic that we talked about last month. So basically, this is all about supplying information about a potential attack on a corporate ecosystem. And guys, I can't give you a better example to terminate this call today. What happened in early May, a few weeks ago? I'll give you a hint. Colonial. Oh, it was only the largest US pipeline that got hacked and had a cybersecurity breach that caused a major shutdown in fuel deliveries. Nothing too much, right? So what are they going to attack? These exercises, 9 out of 10 of them, have actually done real-time, real-world things a few months or a year or 2 years later. So this is all about protection. It's all about investing in the security of your assets. And if you don't consider your laptop and your online monitoring or your online activity as an asset, try a different flavor of coffee. And I'm saying this sarcastically because the WEF is advancing their understanding of cybersecurity. And if you think about it, as we go into the digital age of currency, the digital yuan or the digital euro or the digital dollar, and we're buying up all of these cryptocurrencies, everything's going online. Do you actually have a printout of your banker statement saying it's got $75,432? Go and say, Simon, I wish. Well, even if it only has $5,000 or $100 in it, do you have a printout that says each month what you have? Can you prove it? This is becoming so important. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us today. We greatly look forward to divergently thinking with you this year and beyond. As I said to you before, our motto is we're ready for you on your green light. Mark, I'm going to hand it back to you. I'll unmute everybody and let's go to questions.
Just unmute yourself. Don't unmute everybody. If you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself.
Great.
And, if you don't know how to unmute yourself, then it's in the top or it's in the bottom left corner. All you gotta do is click or you're unmute yourself. If you can't figure it out, I guess just text me.
Great.
My number.
Yeah.
Anyway,
questions, please.
What? Hey, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Explain to me why you're so. I get all the banks are invested in this Ripple deal, but if they're in an SEC dispute or court hearing, I mean, fuck, that's dangerous, is it not?
Yes. If you look at all of the companies and alliances and different firms that have been having problems with the SEC, most of them, I think it's about 70 to 75%, have ended up in some type of resolution with a payment, and they've been able to go on. Now, here's the upside risk, Mark, and as you know, in any investment, there's downside and upside risk. The upside risk is that once they get through this SEC investigation, they're going to go into an IPO. And they've done a very, very big analysis on one of those articles that we've sent you the links on. I can resend it to you if you need to, saying that the market capitalization would be absolutely in the dozens of billions of dollars for Ripple, and its value would just get like humongous in the system. So that's the risk that we do take.
And then one other thing on that Ripple, I think most anyone that's thought about it doesn't have a clue how to buy it. So let's do this, Simon. Let's put together an email that walks people through how to buy it. If they want to buy it.
Okay. Yeah, the email would basically give all the steps. We'd write it out. And by the way, a lot of you have asked, what is the safest way to get your cryptocurrency? Well, you buy what's called a nano ledger. It looks like a little zip drive, okay? But this nano ledger, and you can go and just type into Google, nano ledger. The nano ledger will actually have all of your cryptocurrency, and you can say, okay, it's here. Don't lose it. Don't put it in your pocket, okay? But that is your asset, and you can't be hacked. So that's what I'm doing.
And if they do take your coin, they can get it right back with that nano bullshit or whatever you're talking about. Right?
There's risks to anything, but there are ways that you can protect yourself out of the cloud platform if you want to take that route.
I know with that nano track, it's a chip, right? A nano chip, or
I don't know if it's a nano chip. I think that's just the name of the company.
I was reading about it last night, and they say it's about the safest way there is as far as.
Yes, it is the safest way. Yes.
Wherever your coins go, they can figure out where the hell they're at.
Are you saying it's the safest way?
From what I understand, yeah.
Yeah, that's what our research has shown too. Yes.
I did a little research on it last night. Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah. And I think the point there, secondary point, Mark, is that, we're basically advancing what we know, our knowledge base, and together we can figure this out. So yes, there's always going to be different ways to do it, and preferences are ranging from A through Z with different individuals. But That's what we have found, that it's this is a good way to do it. Yes.
What do you think about people buying cryptos through Robinhood?
You know, we never looked into Robinhood. We know it had that kind of market story about them coming up, and it seemed like they made a number of mistakes. There was a couple of guys in there that basically took the idea of revolutionizing a market and catching a lot of hedge funds really off key. The hedge
what the deal was is how they make most of their money is through, what I understand is, they sell all that data of all these little guys, all these Reddit guys, all this bullshit, all to the hedge funds for billions and billions of dollars.
Yes. And I've heard from hedge funds, pardon me. I've heard from market hedge funds, Mark, that they now have learned this kind of backdoor kind of activity going on.
When they came out and they shut down trading on whatever the hell it was, AMC or GameStop or whatever it was, they basically, in my opinion, probably shut their whole business down.
Yes.
To an extent, I mean, but these kids don't know, and so they're still opening accounts. But in all reality, they shut trading down on a stock, so they manipulated it back to the hedge funds.
Yes.
And they're supposed to, the Robinhood name, steal from the rich, give to the poor. They pissed on themselves bad on that deal.
That's it. Exactly.
And so, but their clientele, I feel like, is so fucking stupid that they just continue to open accounts and trade it.
Yes. So basically, there is a lesson to be learned. There is, any platform, even, there's platforms that that people are doing outside of the US that aren't really regulated. Be careful. It is basically walking into a minefield. So it has to be done very carefully with a lot of research, but bit by bit we can become more knowledgeable and diversify by adding in a little bit of your assets, your hard-earned cash into cryptocurrency in the beginning.
Well, so here's our experience with Robinhood is you can't hook a business account up to it. They won't allow that. And then it's taken us 2 weeks to get our money cleared, and they'll only take 50 grand to clip on the ACH pool.
Yes.
I mean, it's just it's odd. They don't have wires. No one you can talk to.
Yes. Getting your money out of cryptocurrency is very hard right now in most areas, and this is the whole thing why I wanted people, Mark, to look into the Tether. Apparently, when they buy the Bitcoins back, they don't have enough tethers to support the market because the market grew so quickly. And it's kind of like the gold. If everybody wanted their gold back that has gold stocks, or they have an amount at a trading platform, let's say they have 20 ounces of gold, but they haven't had actual physical delivery on it yet.
You don't get physical delivery on gold anymore. That's not right.
No, I know, but my point is the same. That there's not enough physical gold to supply everybody's amount.
You get a certificate. That's all you get. I mean, you'll never take gold from the federal.
Exactly. I'm kind of more old-fashioned. I like to have something in my hands, and that's why I got that nano ledger, going back to that, because I can see, okay, this is what I have. Yeah. All right, Mark. Well, listen, shall we end the call today and get this out so everybody can take a good look?
Yeah, if anyone else has any questions, I mean.
I haven't seen anything in the chat yet.
All right, we'll get this pushed out and recorded and edited down and everything else, and then we'll send out the slides and send out the get it all taken care of. It'll be done by late this afternoon, probably.
All right, great, Mark. Thank you. And I'll just wind up by thanking everybody for their support, their patience with us today. The original link for this show did not go as planned. We apologize for that, but we look forward to seeing you again in early July, about 30 days from now, for the next Top 10 17th Dot with Steele Shott Group. Ciao, everybody. Aye from Uruguay.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.